Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from worldwide. I'm Sterling. Great to have you back on the channel. This show is being recorded for Sunday, October 16th, 2022. As always, these shows are provided for entertainment purposes only. All the information I share with you comes directly real time through my guides and angels, extended spiritual counsel, ETs, famous people from history, so for entertainment purposes only. Also, if anybody needs to reach me, it's very easy. Go to sterlingpsychicmedium.com, look for the Book a Session tab. It's very easy from there. Thanks for all the subscribers, all the new subscribers. Really appreciate the support of the channel. Just remember to like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. All those things really help the channel. And the like button or the thumbs up, it's probably the most important, really does help the channel. We're going through a contest. Those of you that watch the channel all the time know that every time we reach a new level of 1,000 subscribers, we give away a new half-hour session with myself. And we just crossed over 30,000 subscribers. So again, thanks for all the support of the channel. So I'm going to announce now the winner of the free half-hour session with myself. And that winner is Mark in PDX. And I'm assuming PDX is the designation for Portland. So this must be Mark in Portland. But the winner, their YouTube alias name is Mark in PDX. So Mark, just contact our offices at info@sterlingpsychicmedium.com to get you all set up for the half-hour session. So thanks very much for all the support, and congratulations again to Mark there. The questions for these shows, for those that watch the channel, know that we grabbed them from the community board. This week, I think we had 550 questions, something of that nature. And my wife does go through them, tries to select 50, 60, or 70 questions that have not been addressed before. So we kind of keep the channel moving forward with fresh content. So, we place timestamps on these shows 24 hours after they're posted. So you can go back and check content and look for content that is important to you. So thanks for Hyperledger for doing the timestamps. Always a nice shout out to her. Just a wonderful job there. So I thought we'd get going then on today's show, the top 64 countdown. We always like to start off with a mediumship. And we take the request for mediumship from our community board. And we had a number of requests for Dr. Wayne Dyer. So I did bring them through this morning. And as always, I like to scribe down exactly what they say. So I'm going to read back exactly word for word what Dr. Wayne Dyer had to say. So the first question, 64, does Dr. Wayne Walter Dyer have a message for us? I want you to know that we all have the ability to heal ourselves from whatever trials or traumas we have experienced in life. We have the innate ability to tap into global consciousness we are all born with and channel wisdom and understanding, which can uniquely heal us as well as those around us. In my lifetime, I developed techniques and methods that I believe were able to harness the greater good. Everything we think about and every action we take in life has either a beneficial effect or harmful effect on all of us, and it is our responsibility to manage these thoughts and actions for the greater good, the things we all aspire to. It is important we acknowledge all of life's pure and meaningful lessons and then move through them, leaving behind the fear, grief, guilt, pain, anger, and suffering, which is simply baggage we carry that slows us down and prevents us from growing and moving forward. Medical science has only just started to understand how our inner wisdom is a powerful tool that can be used to change the world's consciousness. I am sending love to each one of you and want the best for you in your life, just as I try to create this for myself in my life. I'm extending love and gratitude to my family, as well as the greater human family. Make sure you all rise up to meet each and every challenge and conquer them in a dramatic and impactful way, sending love and hope to everyone in the universe. A wonderful message from Dr. Wayne Dyer, a wonderful individual, and never had a chance to meet him, but I know he has a large series of books that are available, and so I was happy to be able to bring him forward here for several individuals who requested Dr. Wayne Dyer. So moving on through the show here today, question 63 in the countdown. Where do you see the United Nations in 5 to 10 years? Within 5 to 10 years, serving a much more impactful role in the world. And so I see even more countries joining the United Nations and getting accepted. So it's going to play a much more meaningful role in kind of the world platform at helping to drive peace and understanding. So it's an important continuing role. 62. President Biden just pardoned marijuana possession at the federal level. Will this help the Democrats in the midterms? Will this push legalization of marijuana across the U.S.? Well, what I'm getting here is that many states are going to follow suit. So over the next 1 to 2 years here, you're going to see a lot of states decriminalize marijuana in a way that is impactful to the states and to the legal professions in those states. They're still going to have some parameters around it, obviously, for, I guess, the quantity and how it's used, but certainly for medication and for health purposes, I see a lot of decriminalization going on across the states here over the next 1 to 2 years. I do. 61. This looks like a two-part question here. First part is, how do we know if what we ask for or need is perhaps not part of our intended life plan? And B, if what we ask for is our intended life path, is there any way to know how long we should potentially wait for it to manifest, given the guides say on your show that we will furnish it immediately as part of your message? Well, in simple terms, and I ask this all the time, my team, if it's something you can imagine and it resonates with you, it's definitely on your life path. Now, the scale or the amount that is on your life path is where free will intersects your life path. So really, it's taking hold of how you manifest in life and how you dedicate and focus that energy to manifest. But it's almost like if you can think it, you can make it happen. So it's not that far from pure imagination and pure will can actually create what you want in your life. Hopefully that helps the person ask this question. But if you can bring in your life path, it resonates with you, integrating full free will into a very concerted manifestation process, you can achieve what you need. 60. How can you read a person if they are not there with you in real time? So my team connects as thousands of angels and guides. They connect with the person's team. And that's normally how the communication channel works. I refer to it sometimes as a very large, like, conference room meeting. So my team connects with the other person's team, and that's the way a lot of the information flows. By the way, that's the way it works for a lot of individuals that do this kind of work. And even people that are not trying to do the work, if you have some connection to spirituality, your team connects with the spiritual team of the other person. And that's the way a lot of the information flows. So sometimes it's nonverbal information. That's information you receive kind of through spirit and consciousness. 59. In the Indian epic Mahabharata, there's a description of a major battle that has all the earmarks of a nuclear war. Some say it's a teaching lesson only. Others say a nuclear war actually happened eons ago. What do your guides tell you? My guides are telling me it's purely instructional. So this does not refer, and I think there might be two big epics here. I'm not an expert on culture in this area, but my team is telling me they're for purely instructional purposes only, that it's not describing an actual nuclear war. 58. I have a question about the upcoming Supreme Court case of the National Pork Producers Council versus Ross, which addresses the legality of California Prop 12. Do your guides see a victory favoring animal welfare? I see a strong victory, or the court upholding Proposition 12. Is that what they call that now? Proposition 12, which I think is like the fair treatment of animals and like sizes of pens and how they're handled. So it looks like the court does come down the side favoring animal rights. So I didn't even know that was a Supreme Court case, but that's what my team's telling me here. 57. There have been many discussions about the Roswell incident, Roswell, New Mexico. One being that the aliens found were in fact hybrids, and the ship was actually alive, meaning it had these fibers all throughout the surface of the craft, almost like they were controlled from consciousness far away. Can you elaborate on if this was true? I've looked at this many times. The accident that happened at Roswell, New Mexico was a spacecraft. Those were hybrid ETs, and a lot of the craft are controlled through consciousness. So a lot of the ETs and extraterrestrials that control craft do it through mind control. So it's really telepathic communication, the way a lot of humans on Earth are going to be able to experience telepathic communication, a lot of the way psychic mediums work. But yeah, the ships are controlled through telepathic communication. They were hybrids. So I'm not sure I can comment on the fibers or something running throughout the ship. But certainly there's telepathic communication, and there is an ability to control these ships through consciousness light years away. So all that's true. Yes. 56. About 2 months ago, I shattered my elbow and broke my humerus. I had an 8-hour surgery. My doctor said he couldn't put in an artificial elbow because I'm too young, and artificial elbows only last 10 years. I'm wondering if there will be any technology that will enable me to get full range of motion back. Right now, I have a plate and a rod and a bunch of screws holding my elbow together. Well, I get yes, within a decade, could be a little faster. There's going to be very highly qualified medical institutions doing 3D printing of biologic material like elbows and bones and other organs. But within a decade here, there's going to be a new high quality biologic 3D printing process that will help you. At that time, you'll be a candidate to be able to have that replaced. So it's all coming for a lot of people with ailments, whoever asked this question. 55. I frequently find myself in what I call the gray space. I'm not asleep, I'm not awake, but I'm conscious and my surroundings are gray. This is the space where I have seen my deceased pets, have been able to fully heal myself of some ailments, have seen a grid with numbers, and I just know stuff. What is this space? Well, this is the level of consciousness where you're decoupling your logical mind from your spiritual consciousness. So yeah, that's very true. They're referred to as a gray space here. Many people, when they do deep meditation, get into this space. You can get into this space even being actively conscious. That's how you can talk real time with your spiritual team. But you're talking about a space for you is where you decouple the logical mind, and that's certainly expected. All the things you're experiencing are to be expected. 54. When do you see the east coast of Australia finally coming out of El Nino? And El Nino, those are elevated temperatures, not to be confused with La Nina, which are lower temperatures. So my team's saying, as far as the coast of Australia there, it looks like another 10 to 12 months here for elevated temperatures, the El Nino effect. So another, may not be as long as a year, but I keep getting here like 10 to 12 months. So a little bit of time here before that effect goes away. 53. How do you know when your guides are leading you, helping you, or guiding you? Well, I always indicate that once you develop the skill to communicate real time with your angels and guides, and that's kind of a topic for another show, but let's say, everybody has the ability at birth to be a psychic medium. People put it down. But once you have the ability for free flow, real-time communication, then I always say it's trust through validation. So as the information comes through, if you can validate that they told you to do something or call somebody, and when you get in touch with that person, they were just going to reach out to you or contact you, that information is coming from a different space, not your ego. So I think that's what the question was. That's really how you separate yourself or your ego from information coming from your angels and guides. Absolutely. Okay, 52 on the countdown. I am a 72-year-old woman who has loved the original movie The Day the Earth Stood Still, and I've hoped since I saw it as a child that it would happen. Is interaction and peace with other world beings going to happen globally in 2023? No, I've talked about this on the show before, not in 2023, but within just a few short years now. My guides first started talking about it in 2020, said it'd be roughly about 5 years. So you can look for 2025, 2026 for a lot of extraterrestrial species to make themselves known more to the public. A lot of world governments are already dealing with them, but yes, it's coming. So I remember that movie, The Earth Stood Still. I think it was about a very tall robot and another extraterrestrial that came forward to reveal information on how to save the world or generate peace around the world, if I remember correctly. It's been a long time. 51. Where is consciousness housed? Is a part of the soul. Where in the body does it reside? Well, my team has always told me consciousness is like the linkage between your true spiritual soul and the universe. So it's like a big communication linkage. So people talk about tapping into consciousness. That's when your soul, your dedicated, complete, spiritual DNA, develops a connection with the universe and all information therein and the Akashic records. So consciousness for me is a big communication linkage that then creates awareness for your soul. 50. Will the United States get universal health care in the next or in the near future? I don't see in the very near future. It's going to take a good decade and a couple of presidencies or terms, if you will, in order for us to get to that point. We're going to get very close to universal health care. I think that's what they asked about, right? Universal health care, which is like no cost health care for everybody. We're going to get a form of universal health care in America that's certainly going to be reduce costs dramatically. I just don't see it as a complete free total health care program within 10 years. As we get out past the 10-year point, we'll get closer to it. 49. Can your team shed any light on the stigmata, the wounds of Christ that many individuals have displayed? I know this is a very important religious topic, but I'll just tell you what my team is saying, that condition is not related directly to the wounds of Christ. It is a medical condition, but I know many around the world, they hold this belief steadfast. So my team is saying it's not directly related to the exact locations of the wounds of Christ, but it's a different medical condition that causes that artifact. 48. Is it possible to have strong feelings about a place you've never seen? I saw a picture of Olympic National Park in Washington and thought, wow, so beautiful. Then I instantly burst into tears. I thought this was weird and Googled more pictures of the place and started crying again. Very odd. I've never had this happen before. Any ideas? Yeah, this is characteristic of having a past life in that location. So many times when you've had important past lives and locations around the world, they'll completely resonate with you and resonate with your soul. So for this individual, I'm very confident that you've had a past life in that location and actually had some good memories, and it's kind of all coming back. Now, I think this person said they burst into tears. I'm not picking up actually you had a very difficult time in that place, but it was very near and dear to your heart. So it was an emotional experience. 47 in the countdown. Sterling, archaeologists claim to have found the location of Noah's Ark, which we now know it was an alien spacecraft on Mount Ararat in eastern Turkey. My question is, what is the object they have discovered? Well, I get at one time, humans did try to create a vessel that would float, but was impractical in order to save species on the Earth. And so 3 different extraterrestrial species stepped in to help save animals and people on the Earth. So it looks like they did find a vessel that may have been started, or somebody tried to create it, but it wasn't the actual vessel that saved all the species. 46, it seems that Putin is escalating his use of randomly fired missiles in Ukraine. Do you see him actually hitting nearby European countries like Romania? I do see some accidental firing of missiles affecting Romania. I don't want to worry anybody, but it does look like this ends up being a bit of a trigger for NATO to get even more involved. Now, NATO is going to ramp up their capabilities and really show force in order to kind of dissuade Russia and Putin from encountering anything, moving forward. So there's something happening here with, I think it was Romania. They were asking about Romania, and Romania is part of NATO. So not to worry, but this is all part of an ongoing element here where this dictator is being very careless. 45. I was in my late 30s when I discovered I was an empath. I was relieved there was a word for it and that I wasn't crazy. My question is, although I pick up on people around me, some people I occasionally run into don't seem real. They have no essence and are as alive to me as cardboard cutout of a person. What is that? A close friend of mine's adult child is like that, and being around her is highly uncomfortable. Well, you're picking up on a personality trait where somebody has a lack of conscience. I think this is your person's friend, right? This is more like a sociopath. So you are an empath. You're picking up on some personality disorders in those people. And this aligns more to somebody being a sociopath or kind of a lack of consciousness. Yeah. Extreme antisocial behaviors is a good way to put it. 44. Well, humans in the distant future require less sleep than they do now. And are there any alien beings who do not require sleep? Well, humans will, is a two-part question. Humans will eventually move much closer to only requiring 6 hours, even 4 hours of sleep. Extraterrestrial species do sleep, but they don't always need it in 24-hour cycles like humans do. So yes, I think that's the answer to the two-part question there. 43 in the countdown. My daughter's dog, Tulip, has been lost in Manhattan, New York City since September, so 9/23. We've done everything we can. Can you say if she is still alive and if we will ever find her? It does look to me like she is still alive. The dog's name, Tulip. Looks like Tulip is still alive. Looks like she was picked up by animal control and looks like she may be in the process of being adopted out, but I think you'll be able to find this out. So I would tell you to check with some local animal shelters. It looks like she was picked up by animal control. And we're in October right now. Looks like I keep getting somebody's trying to adopt her out. So that also says to me that she's still alive. And I do believe you're going to get reunited with her. Yes. 42. 2 years ago, about a month before my mother's passing, several large crows relentlessly kept appearing on my deck railing. I live in an urban area, so they are not usually present. Were they telling me my mother's upcoming death or passing here? Well, it's been my experience with my team that many birds, and specifically crows, are very good messengers. So crows tend to hear spiritual messages very easily, and they tend to be good messengers. So in this case, it does appear that they were trying to pass along a message to you from spirit, just to tell you to be aware of upcoming events here. So I can confirm that, absolutely. 41, the countdown. Will Ukraine be fast-tracked into NATO before the end of the war with Russia? No, I don't see them being fast-tracked prior to the end of the war, but like 2 months after the war ends, I do see them being fast-tracked into NATO. And for me, it looks like the war is still going to be around with us for a few more months, but we're going to see gradual decline in the war. We're going through a difficult phase here in the war, but we've got a few more months to go. And then a few months after that, I do see Ukraine fast-tracked into NATO. 40. Hello, Sterling. I've been watching Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch. We know it is a UFO supernatural hotspot. Now there's an official portal being used by UFOs. My question is, one day we'll be able to open that portal on our end to explore space and planets. Can we eventually use these portals to better understand life after death? Well, yes, on all accounts. The portal that's in Skinwalker Ranch extends several hundred feet up into the sky. It's quite large. It will take decades for humans to understand how to use portals. A lot of the technology will come to us through extraterrestrials. ETs already know how to use it. So in a sense, yes is the answer to all these questions being asked here. It's not going to happen real fast. And the other question is, will help with the understanding of other dimensions like heaven? Yes. Heaven is another dimension that's moving faster than the speed of light, which is why a lot of people cannot perceive it directly. 39, the Science Channel said that a Mars soil sample indicated that catastrophic nuclear damage happened or occurred 300 million years ago on Mars. Is that true? Yes, Mars had several world wars, including several ET species. And yes, there was some nuclear destruction that occurred on Mars. That's all true. Okay, 38 in the countdown. When I worked at Kennedy Space Center about 10 years ago, I was coming home from work and saw a huge ball that was rolling while I was stopped at a stoplight while still on base. It was not long after the Columbia accident, and I felt it might be connected to that. It was all different colors. I've seen orbs, and I thought it was a huge orb at that time, but just did not know what it was. Do you know what it was? Let me check the year here. I worked at Kennedy Space Center about 10 years ago. And she's asking, I just want to make sure, Columbia incident. I get it that this orb was directly related to the Columbia incident, that devastating incident. But for me, that was almost 20 years ago. So I guess I'll interpret this question. I think that she might be referring to the year 2003. It's almost 20 years ago. And it was these were orbs related to the astronauts that perished in that incident. Looks like they were coming back to the Space Center to visit. I do. 37. My question is, will the federal student loan forgiveness program be withdrawn or stopped because of the current lawsuits? Well, the student loan forgiveness program has already started. It's moving forward. It will be stalled due to some of these lawsuits, but the lawsuits will not be permanent. It looks like as the new administration gets in, all of the student loan forgiveness will move forward. So still moving forward, a little bit of a bump in the road, but it'll go forward. The program will go forward. 36. In Canada, we are just beginning a public inquiry into Prime Minister Trudeau's invocation of the Emergencies Act and the truckers' convoy that occupied downtown Ottawa for 3 weeks and hindered U.S. Canadian goods from crossing the international border. This took place on February 2022. The truckers were protesting COVID mandates. Will the government be found to have invoked the act without sufficient cause, or will they be found to have acted appropriately? The final report from the inquiry is due February of 2023. I get Prime Minister Trudeau and his government will be found to enact or move forward on the act in a way that was safeguard the population. So I'm hearing safeguarded, and they actually use the act in a proper sense. So not found to have used the act out of the guidelines it was meant for. So my team's telling me they're reinforcing that the government really found that they did what was right to safeguard the population. Very true. 35. I'm interested in learning more about the Mothman who warns us of disastrous events. I had an experience before COVID-19 pandemic. I was visited by a Mothman, and he telepathically told me that about the world event. I saw him coming up the footpath, and then he came straight to me and surrounded me with his energy. It was an awesome experience, but I couldn't use the information to help anyone. So why was I given this experience? Well, this is an actual experience on your life path, and this is something that will to train you, educate you. You are going to use these experiences going forward. So think about this as a learning lesson. It's something that is on your life path, and you're going to be helping more people with, and you'll have more experiences. But Mothmen, in many cases, are extraterrestrial in nature, and they're here to help. So they're a bit of a shape-shifting extraterrestrial, and they are here to help. 34. In 1998, Amy Lynn Bradley went on a cruise with her family, but never got off the ship. Her body has never been found. There have been reports over the years of people saying they have seen her, and she may have been kidnapped by a ship's employee in traffic. What really happened to her? So her name is Amy Lynn Bradley. My team's telling me she fell overboard, unfortunately. So unfortunately, this was an accident. There could have been alcohol involved here, but this was simply an accident. So I don't get she was kidnapped or trafficked, or unfortunately, I don't get that she's still alive. 33. Sterling, a new branch of psychology called epigenetics, theorizes that pain and trauma from ancestors can be reflected in offspring. I suffer a lot from depression, but cannot see where it comes from. Do you think it could be ancestral from this life or from past lives? Well, my team never talks about, let's say, depression or pain from ancestors or from past lives having a huge effect here on this lifetime. So, whoever asked the question, I see whatever pain or trauma or things you're going through are related directly to this lifetime. So, I don't get the connection. This person talking about the new psychology called epigenetics. Not familiar with it. My team is saying it's not necessarily related to past life pain, but the ways that we carry trauma for the life we're in. So hoping that it helps whoever asked this question. 32, my question concerns assisted suicide. My sister is suffering from terminal cancer and another condition whose symptoms are similar to peripheral neuropathy. She is in a great amount of pain and has decided to use this option to end her life. We live in California where assisted suicide is legal. I'm not a very dogmatic person, and neither is she, but I would like to know from your spiritual team how this matter is viewed on the other side and any comments or recommendations they may offer that would be helpful. Well, first off, the subject of suicide comes up a lot, or let's say this is assisted suicide. You never get off the planet if it's not your exit point. So if you successfully get off the planet, it is your exit point. Now, to put this in context, I never encourage anyone to commit suicide, but we all have a very distinct, unique life path, and all of our life paths intersect. So any action that you take, if it's, let's say, assisted suicide, it provides learning and other experiences for people around you that actually enriches in some respects benefits their life path. Now, let me be clear, because everything is a learning lesson in life. So your guides and angels are always very close to you, to all of us. And you don't get off the planet. That's your exit point. If you get off the planet, it was your exit point. So the question is how they view it on the other side. If it's a successful exit, the other side views it as part of your life path. And it's all part of the extended life review that you go through on the other side. And we all go through an extended life review when we pass about all the things we encountered, learned, people we helped, didn't help, all the good we did, all the joy we brought, some of the trauma we brought. It's all part of the overall life. So I know it's a long answer to this question, but I thought it was appropriate, and hopefully that helps whoever the person asked it. 31, I was wondering, when one suffers too much in a lifetime, does this count as credit for a better life next time? I know this sounds like such a Catholic thing to ask. Funny question. I love it. So we all have free will in this life. And so every time you come in and create a new lifetime, you've actually set up all the life lessons before you came down. So no such thing as, say, extra credit. If you had a prior, I think we're asking about suffers too much in a lifetime. We really create the life experiences each lifetime. And so it doesn't really relate directly to having credit or less credit or more credit for one particular lifetime. No. Okay, 30 in the countdown. Hi, Sterling. I've heard you say that black holes are portals that ETs can use to travel. I've also heard astrophysicists say that the gravity in black holes is too much for anything to survive going into it. Are the astrophysicists wrong regarding the gravity, or do ETs just have special technology to enable to overcome it? And if so, will we as humans ever be able to travel through them also? So this question does come up a lot. Extraterrestrials do move through black holes and use them as portals. Anti-gravity propulsion technology enables a lot of this. They do have materials ships are made of that are not available here on this Earth. A number of ET crashed ships. Humans have been able to recover some of these materials. So it's owing to the materials that are used and anti-gravity propulsion engines that allow them to utilize these portals. So it's technology that humanity does not understand yet, but humanity will have this technology. 29. One day I was out playing in the backyard by myself under a tree. Suddenly a little man came out of the side of the tree trunk and glared at me. He was very short, around 3 to 3.5 feet high. He was bald on top and had white hair around the edges and had a short beard and mustache. He wore a white shirt and green overalls. He was very mean and angry. I was playing in the space. I was playing in his space and never wanted me in that part of the yard again. When I would play with my siblings, other children, I thought I would be safe, but I could see him leering at me from around the tree. The others did not notice him, but they noticed my behavior was, and I was old enough to know that I'd be labeled as crazy if I told them what I saw. By the time the next summer came around, I thought the episode had passed. But one day, out of the blue, the little man appeared again and was angry that I was in his space. We moved shortly after that, and it was never a problem again in the new house. What was that? Why did he target me? And why couldn't the other children see him? Well, this resonates to me. My team's telling me this is very characteristic of a fairy. Some people call them leprechauns. Fairies are they're very regional, so they protect certain areas of the world. So apparently this fairy. Now, you have to have extra spiritual sensing, if you will. Those that are young and you have good psychic mediumship skills, you can see everything in that domain. So it appears that you had better than average spiritual or psychic mediumship ability, which is why you could see that fairy. But it looks like a fairy to me, and they are very regional and very possessive of certain areas. That's what you saw. 28, when an ET dies, what happens to his or her body? How many years does an extraterrestrial live? All ETs live approximately 400 years. It's very average, 400 years of age. And when they pass or when they die, their bodies are released into space where they become part of the universe again. So no extensive burials on planets, but they release them out into space. 27. It is said that there are a lot of different ET species. Do any of them use some type of money as we do? How do ETs provide for their housing and food? Well, they use the exchange of a lot of scientific capability, and I'll call it rare earth metals or rare materials that can be used for energy and propulsion of ships. So valuable materials they exchange. And they also have a form of like digital currency. So nothing that's physical, but digital currency that actually adds value to them. So it's a value exchange and a lot of material exchange. And also I'll be reminded, even territory. So there are some extraterrestrials that have own territories. They'll exchange territories for value. 26, looks like a long question here. I've gotten 3 telepathic spiritual messages in my life from complete strangers without them outwardly knowing it. Okay, so here's the first one. A trainer at a job was joking with students at break, and when I got a message from her saying she knew me in heaven, she carried on talking to them and didn't know she said this. I was stunned. Number 2, a woman at a party was looking in her purse when I got a message from her saying that she was healing me. And 3, I was helping someone find the home of a lost dog, and I got a message from her saying that I need to love myself. I've never heard anyone tell a story like this. Also, even though there may be people around, I always know who sent the telepathic message. Can you explain any of this, please? Well, you are telepathic. You have a psychic and a spiritual ability to communicate with the other side. So I would tell you to develop that skill. This is something that you're picking up on their spiritual communication. And it's actually very natural for those that do a lot of psychic mediumship work. But I would say develop the skill. You're going to find it very helpful. And I am also getting told to tell you the messages you received were meant for you, and they were real messages. So it's all part of your learning path here on Earth. 25, hello, Sterling. My husband was on vacation about 30 years ago with our boys. They were in Bryce National Park. At one point, they all looked up, and there was a black grid in the sky, like graph paper. What was this? This was a landing pattern or a surveying pattern that was developed by ET ships. Very common. A lot of extraterrestrials and ET ships will survey Earth for varying reasons, testing, or sometimes there's cattle manipulation, livestock. But this is all part of surveying. It's developed through laser technology, and it's done by extraterrestrials. 24, I live in the province of Quebec in Canada, and we went through a provincial election. The current party has shown itself to be anti-immigration, shows no intention to fix our crumbling health system, school system, long-term care facilities, and more interested in reinforcing language laws and the debate over French language preservation. My question to you is, will this province find a balance and offer a better quality of life instead of focusing on the same old language issues? Well, whoever this conservative was that was elected, they're going to be in power for a few years. And I'm picking up they may have been a conservative radio host or something, so people know them. But anyway, it's going to be an issue for a little bit of time here. So a few years. Okay, question 23. The XBB variant, COVID variant, is being reported to be immune evasive. How concerned should we be about this variant? Well, this is the new strong COVID variant that my team has been saying for almost a year now that would be here at the end of this year. The good news is the vaccines are going to be able to combat this. The new, we'll be careful here. I'm not a doctor, but my team did say that new vaccines available at the end of this year would be very helpful. And we're going to get through this. So, because I'm not a doctor, I'm going to be very careful here. But this is the new variant that my team warned will be here at the end of the year. We will have new vaccines coming that will be very helpful, including one that's available right now. 22, I am struck that you and your team seemingly are much more optimistic about the near future of humanity, at least in the Western world, and the future state of the environment than other readers. Some don't voice predictions about politics, and I'm not hearing direct contradictions, but they believe things will get much worse before they get better regarding climate change, solar flares, economic collapse. Do they not all teach doom and gloom? They do not all teach doom and gloom, but to be aware and prepared. Can you comment on this? Well, my team always indicates we're going to see a continuation of a lot of things we're dealing with right now. Supply chain problems, the pandemic, a world war. Now, be careful, not a world war. We've got the war in Ukraine right now, which NATO is going to get involved in. We're not going to go through a world war. So the answer is that my team always indicates we're going to have more of the same going on around the economy and some inflation and the pandemic and wars, but that there's a path through to complete and get to a better place. And that so it takes all of humanity and the consciousness of humanity to keep moving this forward and to have intention about getting through all this. So it has a lot to do with not really giving in to doom and gloom, but the fact that acknowledging these things are going to take some of our time and attention and keep moving through it. Absolutely. Number 21. Hi, Sterling. A few years ago, I spent a summer vacation on the Isle of Rhodes in Greece with a good friend. One sunny afternoon, we drove up to a mountain to visit a church in the 14th century, had a beautiful garden, and lay peaceful in the afternoon sun. Yet an inexplicable fear gripped me as soon as we parked the car, and I wanted to run. I couldn't shake the fear and had to control myself not to run. The fear only disappeared once we had driven down the mountain. The funny thing was that while neither my friend nor I had said anything while we were up there on the mountain, both of us had felt the same fear, but we only mentioned it to each other once we had come down the mountain. What was it? Why did that place feel so menacing? What I get is you were feeling a lot of death or something occurred around that environment. So it could be centuries ago, a lot of death or some destruction occurred. You're picking up on that residual energy. So that's very true. Mm-hmm. In fact, my team is saying that you kind of had an intuitive warning about that area. Not that any harm would come to you, but you were picking up on your intuition, and your guides and angels were kind of giving you some extra added benefit of sensing what had occurred there. 20. As a small child, my mother had numerous experiences where several small brown robed figures like small monks came to her in the bedroom at night and would stand near her bed. She never saw their faces or heard their voices. Can you ask your guides if these were dreams, fairies, ETs, or something else? Well, I get these were hybrid ETs, what they call the Greys. Now, I think you said in this question they were wearing brown robes. That doesn't necessarily mean they weren't the Greys, but these look like hybrid extraterrestrial Greys. And nobody was abducted here, but they were coming around to visit. There was some curiosity there. And that's the experience you're describing here, they're telling me. 19. When information is received from our guides, do we receive it through our crown chakra, third eye, or heart chakra? Well, none of the above. It comes through you almost like you're a very big antenna. And I know we do have energy centers on our body. We have chakra energy centers, and people do refer to the third eye or the crown chakra. But when you receive information from your angels and guides, I think that was the question, right? From our guides as angels, it comes to you almost like you're a huge antenna that comes right to you energetically to your spiritual core. So I wouldn't get too sidetracked about third eye, crown chakra, or which chakra it is. It does come to you really just like you're a massive antenna right to your soul. 18. When I was about 5 or 6 years old, I had a very vivid memory of floating down the stairs at night and across the basement, stopping at a wall. My mom was down there and never seemed to notice me. I remember this happening for a couple of nights. For years, I passed it off as a dream, but I couldn't ignore the fact it did not feel like a dream. It felt very real. I still remember the sensation of floating. Was this indeed a dream or an out-of-body experience? This was very characteristic of an out-of-body astral travel experience. You can control these astral travel experiences. It looks like you were having them for some reason. I think you said you were 5 or 6 years old. Very common, as I was said, when you're younger than 7 years old, a lot of the psychic mediumship ability and ability to astral travel is very easy for us because it hasn't been that long since we've been on the other side. 17. What will happen to the fake electors? What I get there is the 84 individuals or the individuals that signed those fake elector documents will all be prosecuted eventually, but it's going to be another year before all this starts to happen. So it's coming, but something like the 84 electors or people that signed these documents will eventually all be prosecuted. 16, are ascended masters really humans that have reached an ascended state? Well, yes, in many cases, ascended masters were humans or people that walk the planet, could be thousands of reincarnations, and they actually have been blessed with or given special skills, special ability as part of their life path to help the universe, to help humanity. So that's all true. And there are hundreds of ascended masters if you look out through history. 15. When you read a question, I'm guessing you're able to feel the energy, vibration, and frequency of the person who asked it. Are you able to know if the person asking the question has psychic gifts? Well, it's true. So whether the individual has psychic or extended or expanded psychic or mediumship gifts, not really important asking the question. I do feel that when they ask the question, I can tell kind of where it's coming from energetically. My team does connect with their team. So part of that's true, but I would just say that whether the person, let's say, has an expansive psychic or mediumship ability is not necessarily germane to answering their question. Hope that helps. 14, Sterling, if we feel we're being intuitively guided, is there a way to tell if this guidance is coming from loved ones who have passed on or angels and guides? Does it matter? Do they provide different kinds of guidance? Well, once you connect with the other side, you probably heard me say this many times, and you get that real-time communication flowing, you actually can, through simple questions, ask whether it's a loved one communicating with you or one of your angels and guides. A lot of times, the type of information that comes through can be characteristic of a family member or an angel and guide. And I would say your angels and guides, they do the heavy lifting in life. They really help you manifest everything you experience. Whereas family members, I figuratively say they can tug on the robes of the people, your angels and guides. But family members don't typically do the heavy lifting for us in life, but they help directionally to help. Hopefully that helps. Once you develop that real-time communication, it takes practice and some homework, you get to a point where it'll be easy to discern. 13, after ETs are revealed to the public, will the other side and the one source be confirmed in a way that no humans will be able to deny, since ETs have a strong connection to the other dimension? The answer is yes, simply yes. But if we're talking about all of humanity, it's going to take another 50 to 100 years for humanity to really understand even better how the one source, the one force works. So ETs and their ability and their coming out to humanity will be very helpful. But in order for all humanity to kind of really then start to accept the one force, the one source, we've still got many, many decades to go. My team's saying another 50 to 100 years. Hi, Sterling. I love your channeling. If you give me hope, you give me hope in what seems to be a very bleak world. I got a little camper van a few months ago, thinking I could travel with my dog, Jack. He's so anxious in the evenings when we go to sleep in it. He paces and pants the whole time. Neither of us get any sleep. What is he so anxious about? And is there anything I can do to relieve his fears? Well, your dog is picking up an unfriendly energy, nothing evil here, but unfriendly energy. So I'm not sure if this is a secondhand van or somebody had a bad experience in the van or may have passed away in the van. So I would say do a sage, do a simple, cleansing of the energy and ask any spirits that are there to kind of move on and, leave you alone. But your dog, Jack, is picking up energy in that van that they're finding, not friendly. 11. On a misty, snowy night, I pulled into a parking lot in back of my apartment. A few feet away was an alley lined with trees. As I gathered my things, something drew my attention to the trees just underneath the streetlight. Suddenly, the snow in that area seemed to suspend in time. The trees shuddered, and a man waist up was illuminated by the streetlight. He didn't notice I was there. Then, as he turned, he disappeared. From what I could make out, he was fair-skinned and dark-haired. Whatever he was wearing didn't look like it was from this era. It was pretty late. I was tired. Did I imagine this, or was I seeing something supernatural? You're actually seeing a full-scale apparition of an individual that lived in that area. So typical, this is a full-scale apparition you saw. Now, I think you saw from the waist up. Doesn't matter. They can show themselves, waist up or full scale, full height. But that was somebody that was a man. Looks like he lived in that area at one time. Number 10, will the House H.R. 82 Social Security Fairness Act pass on the House and then in the Senate this year? That's the windfall in government pension offset legislation. These reduce Social Security government policies, amounts that are paid to people in government, police, teachers, firemen, and it offsets their Social Security payment. Okay, I get it. HR 82. What I get on that is it's going to pass, but I think they asked it's going to pass this year. It doesn't look like this year, but it looks like it'll pass very shortly after the midterms. Looks like they try to get it passed before the midterms. Looks like after the midterms, it will definitely get passed. Absolutely. Yes. Okay, number 9 in the countdown. My question relates to our reduced workforce in many areas, specifically the healthcare area. Emergency rooms are a disaster and hospitals are closing entire floors due to a lack of employees, as well as insurance companies reducing reimbursement rates and increased documentation. Will insurance companies continue to increase demands for documentation and lower reimbursement? Or will there be some kind of understanding in our industry? Will the workforce ever come back? So kind of a multi-layered question there, but what I pick up is that the new corporate minimum tax of 15%, that's going to put more revenue in the medical system. There'll be better payments for doctors. It's going to take another 2 years for everything to get back to pre-pandemic levels, I guess, number of personnel in hospitals. And I also pick up that artificial intelligence will be used, AI technology, to process claims faster and kind of ease the burden of documentation. So kind of a 3-level answer to this question. Number 8, it appears America's workforce is not keeping up with technology, robots replacing workers. When will America begin to offer its displaced workers training in higher tech jobs that can actually support a family? Well, I do see the workforce is going to move more towards advanced technology, robotics, that is, jobs that support robotics and artificial intelligence and advanced manufacturing onshore as opposed to offshore. So there will be training. Looks like government will provide training programs. Take a few years to roll out here, but the economy will gradually move towards servicing more advanced technology, green energy. And so the whole economy, in fact, all the world's economy is going to move this direction. But for this person, they're asking about America's workforce. Certainly the increased income from the 15% corporate minimum tax is going to put more funding into education and training of workforce to get them to shift to these new technology areas. 7 in the countdown. Why did the Mayan calendar end on December 21st, 2012? What I get on that is it ended, but it wasn't so much an end as the start of a brand new era for humanity. So, my guides have said that there's a very important 3-decade period we're in right now, 2020 to 2050. I know the Mayan calendar ended in 2012. My team is saying that that end was really pointing to a start of a brand new era for humanity. So I remember when when we were coming up to that 2012 end of the Mayan calendar, my team was always saying, don't worry, it's the start of a whole new beginning. So that's what I'm getting. 6, my great granddaughter is 3 years old. She has been a restless sleeper since she moved into a new home. Recently, her mother went to her room and slept with her and woke up feeling very sad, but couldn't remember her dream. She took her daughter to her bedroom and heard a heavy sigh from the baby monitor in the child's room. She looked and saw a white orb go by the monitor. Since then, they have on occasion where they saw an orb and also smelled cigarette smoke from that room, and no one in the house smokes. Any thoughts on what that could be? This is an adult male spirit that lived in that house or lived in that area at one time, and they're visiting your house. It does not look like a relative, but it's an adult male spirit that has a connection to that house. Like always, you can ask spirits to move on in a loving way, and they will respect that. And interesting, and baby monitors, like a lot of cameras, they're sensitive to the infrared spectrum, so they do pick up orbs very easily. Number 5, my wife of 40 years is in long-term care now for 3 years. How do I know whose life lesson this is? If it's both of ours or just mine, what can I do to make it move on? This has drained me financially and emotionally, but I've accepted it for what it is. Is this karmic related? Well, I'm sorry to hear that, the experience you're having here. Karma is the set of life lessons you decide to learn when you come down here. So it's not about a past life karmic debt. So everything we experience in our life path is part of our life path and those loved ones around us. Certainly, we all have multiple soulmates as we go through life. This is one of your soulmates, your wife. I will tell you that whoever this is, it's going to get better very soon. I don't know why they're telling me to tell you this, but within about a 6-month period, this is going to get better very soon. It's going to get much better for you and easier to handle. Unless there's help coming in, financial or physical help. So something here, but it's karmic in that these are the set of life lessons for this lifetime, but not say karmic and relate to karmic debt. So it's your life lesson. It's your soulmate's life lesson. All of these life paths are interconnected. So hopefully that helps. 4, will China ever change to a more democratic socialist style of government? Will there ever be a time when all, or at least most of the government helps the majority of the population instead of just the most powerful? Well, unfortunately, China is going to remain pretty much in their governing state for at least the next 100 years. So there are going to be changes coming, but it's also owing to a lot of extraterrestrial involvement around the world and the way economies are going to move and the balance of power is going to change. But the person asks this question, still a good 100 years here before China is going to move towards something that feels much more democratic and much more people-oriented. Now, it's not that it's going to happen like a light switch in 100 years. You'll see a gradual increase. So you can look for over the next 50 years here, things to start to get better, but then move kind of to fully feel like it's fully changed in about 100 years, my team is telling me. 3 in the countdown. Will King Charles grant Harry's children the title of prince and princess like he should, since the queen has passed away? I get practically that King Charles has the intent of doing this, but like I've seen for many times here, it does not look like he'll be king for that long. So whether that's 6 months or 12 months here, looks like the intent is there, but he won't, just due to the timing of the amount of time that he'll be king. So other factors will come in here. I think we talked about this on prior shows, but to answer the question, it looks like it won't be King Charles' decision for a variety of reasons. And number 2 in the countdown. And so the last 2 here, I did take some notes prior to the show because I find it gets the points across a little easier. Number 2 is always, do you see anything coming up this week? And I asked my team before he started the show here, so I'll read back what they told me. Many more legal discussions around the subpoenas for 45 in the January 6th committee. So lots of legal discussions going on around that. Discussion of indictments by the DOJ for several of 45's associates this week. New James Webb Telescope developments. New Social Security programs moving through Congress. So that's good. More efforts moving Social Security programs through Congress. We talked about a few of them during the show. New aggressive drought programs for the Western U.S. And more significant Ukraine progress in gaining back new territory. So a very active week, but a lot of things coming up this week. And number one in the countdown, do you have anything your guides want to share? Keep calm and know that the universe is moving towards a time that everyone will eventually feel at peace. It is always difficult as humanity learns its lessons. So on that note, we'll conclude the show here for Sunday, October 16th, 2022. As always, if you need to reach me, go to sterlingpsychicmedium.com, look for the Book a Session tab. I want to wish everybody goodwill and tremendous love to you and your families. Take care. We'll see you soon.